Here we go. I'm Pat.
Was it working?
It's fine.
Okay. Hi, Patrick. I'm Jeffrey.
So there's a football game on that Jeff doesn't care about.
Oh, act like you do. Come on, man.
I came here.
Cut it out with that shit. Don't think Jeff doesn't care about it. It's just this is a mutual feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty awful, man. So I fell asleep for a good hour during the game. So like commercials are bad. The football is bad. I don't know, man. So it did not have Mike Tirico. It had Tony Romo, so he's okay. So
Does that make a difference for
commentating, I
Yeah.
guess, man. It wasn't Joe Buck, so I'm happy. So
you? So throw commentators as they are aside for the moment, right? Get rid of them. They don't count, right? Who would you rather have commentating this game if you can draw the pool from anywhere?
oh, anywhere?
Yeah.
I was always an Al Michaels guy. I really like that dude. So
Well, I'm asking you to use your imagination for a second. So,
anybody.
yes.
Oh,
yes.
well, Darth Vader would be good. Or
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Actually, that'd be terrible, man. So,
I don't know. There might be kind of like a suave dignity to it, as long as he
it could
paced
be,
himself
yeah.
appropriately. I mean, obviously, I think Robin Williams would have you worn out by the end of the
I
first
couldn't
quarter.
watch that, man. I couldn't watch that. Yeah.
Same thing. It's like, you got Jim Carrey in there. It's like, no,
I
this
can't
isn't
do
gonna-
that either, man.
No.
Yeah, no, that'd be terrible. It would drive me to drink rapidly.
No, who has a wonderful voice?
Richard Nixon would be good.
There you go. All right.
There we go.
I gotta actually do that.
We could do a
Yeah.
Nixon Kennedy,
Yeah.
podcast.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Again, I have nothing against the people that are doing what they're doing. I just
No, yeah.
This is a contest with nothing about this is winning. Every aspect of this is
What, San Francisco and KC?
San Francisco, Casey, everything surrounding it, everything in the booth, everything that's been attempted to be made political about this, the fucking
Yeah.
yammering about this, it's
Fortunately, that was like last week's news, so there wasn't too much of it today. I don't think. I don't know. Every time Travis Kelce catches the ball, though, of course we get a booth shot. So
why should that matter?
I don't know, man.
That's what I'm saying, man.
It draws the ladies apparently. I don't know.
Fuck them. That's not what this sport is about.
I don't know, man. I
that's-
mean, judging by the commercials, man, I mean, that's a big chunk of their audience now. So, you're seeing commercials for hot flashes and shit on there now.
This is what I'm talking about. This is gatekeeping. This is what we failed to do. We failed to take a stand and say, women, stay the hell out of this game. Your contributions, we love you. Thank you for everything that you do. But trying to market the sport for you will only make it worse for us.
I think it's just been taken over by older people. So, to be really blunt with you, there's a lot of people out there who, I don't need to have permission to go and watch the football game from my wife, but if she wants to come, that'd be great, because then I don't have to have that fight. Yeah.
Have the fight.
No,
have the fight.
No, fuck that. Yeah.
You got to have the fight.
No, I'm not having a fight.
Make it something where it's like, no, this is intolerable to you.
Yeah, no, I'm not having that fight. You can sign up for 2 for me.
Fuck that. No, this is something, we do this in rollbacks. So I mean, starting next year, the first thing we'll do this in steps. So step number 1 is next year, face masks will not be included on the helmets. You will have chin straps, but face masks are off.
We can go back to leather helmets.
I think 5 years.
5 years back, so not the one with that crush plate on it.
No. We're stepping this.
Oh,
through.
right,
So
that's
face
like
masks off next.
So when do we start passing out gladiuses and shields? 10 years?
No. We're not trying to regress this thing back to Roman times. What we're trying to do is get it back to actual football. Things that will actually disgust women and get them out of the sport.
Well, more violence would do that then.
More violence will do that, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Like the most diehard football fans that I know, except for your brother, are all couples. So, yeah. In fact, they're all partying tonight because the two teams that they all root for are playing each other. So, and of course, it's a huge barbecue thing, and it's probably got crudité and stuff. Yeah,
that's fine. Just the game itself, they can come in for whatever bullshit halftime performance comes in, but the game should be so disgusting that they don't want to watch. They want to sit in the other room and fucking talk about bullshit, and the guys can sit there and watch the game.
Okay. I'm sorry, buddy. I think that ship has sailed.
I'm telling you, man, it's.
I think that ship has sailed, brother. So that's what UFC is for now, right?
I suppose, and I guess to UFC's credit, I mean, this is one of the few instances where having. Look, me and my buddies actually we pay-per-viewed the first Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Oh, okay.
Number 1 back in like 1990, whatever, right? And that was a shit show.
It wasn't that long ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a shit show, and I'll tell you why, right? Because the whole idea behind this was it's a no-holds-barred event.
Right.
Now, what it turns out was holds needed to be barred.
Right, yeah.
Right? It was the fighting was so sloppy. Right?
Oh, okay.
That basically you could go in there and so the appeal of basically going in there and punching balls, 7 times in a row and it being completely legal, right?
You pop on somebody's head. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's funny, but at the same time the fighting was so terrible, right, that it was a sideshow. Yeah. So they had to basically clean it up and say, like, all right, so what are we going to do to make this actually a competitive event? And over time, they actually did that. Right?
Yeah. It took me years to even see my first one, man. Oh, yeah. I'd say it was in the 2010s by the time I saw one. So maybe a little bit earlier. I think when my brother lived with us at that house over there, he bought one once.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was like one of these ones where the first card was like a 30-second fight.
That's fine.
So, yeah, no, it was just kind of like, well, that was kind of shocking. So there's a lot of build-up, and that guy just wrecked that dude. So it was like, well, thank God we get 3 fights.
Well, actually, you get a ton. I mean, so basically, you're going to have the undercard is like 10 fights long, and once you get to the main event, then it's usually that one that you're disappointed if it goes short. But even those I've seen go flat in 20 seconds.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of those.
And they have backups. I mean, they do a pretty good job at this point. And again, it doesn't try to market itself to women.
No, I mean there is a women's division, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, and that's what's funny. It's just like women don't care about that. That's for guys.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
I know that seems silly, but I mean, it's actually,
that makes sense.
It's a different. It's just a different division.
That makes sense.
But yeah, it's something I don't like. I don't want to claim ownership over football. I can't do that. I wouldn't dare. Right. So the game is the game for everyone, and let them enjoy it all they like. But in terms of, I don't like. If you just look at halftime shows, it's clear that they don't want me there.
Oh, who was today's? I think was Usher. So it was like, okay, I can leave. Well, I was asleep during the entire thing.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want me there. They're not marketing to me.
Yeah, but I mean, we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. A halftime show used to be a couple bands that would,
Yeah.
with flags and flag girls and stuff like that, and you'd have a little like like the Navy would show up or something.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and now it's like
Exactly.
this huge
Right.
production because it's so many guys. It's got so the reason for that, I don't know, man. It's just it has more to do with the number of eyeballs that are on it.
Yeah.
So and so they turned into a big show. I mean, you can thank Fox News for that. So when they started doing that back in 1990s, it wasn't Fox News, it was just Fox. So because I remember when they got their hands on their first Super Bowl, so it was completely different. That would have been like 92 or 93, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
And then they would upbid
yeah.
it for every year. So, to actually get them on the map. I do remember that.
It worked.
It did work. Totally worked. So, yeah.
Now, as a matter of fact, that's an interesting bit of trivia. As I was walking that memory lane of John Madden football games, starting from the first going to 92 and then all the way to 98, it's very interesting that those games have their own, like, individual theme song, for the game.
Oh, okay.
Until 1 year happens, and it's that ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, really?
And, yeah,
I thought that was Monday
in the
Night
midnights.
Football. Is that Monday Night Football?
Monday Night Football has been... Are you ready for some football?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, there's
you're right.
They use the snippets from it for their bumpers.
Right.
But
You're right.
yeah. That's so I've had ideas on how to fix football for a long time.
You have.
Right?
Yeah.
Starting with the Lombardi.
Right. The
Right.
King of the Mountains division. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think now is a perfect time to start implementing some of those changes.
Well, I mean, they've been changing baseball a little bit here and there, so maybe it's time. So.
Well, I'll leave that to you for the better.
Oh yeah, so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, baseball was a lot better last fall. So than it had been normally. So we'll see. I might go see some Cactus League stuff this spring. So
Why wouldn't you?
if it's hot, then I won't.
All right.
Yeah.
No. I understand that.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Now, okay, so I'm going to take that back. What I said about football. Baseball is the sport for old people. So
There you go.
it's when you remember America fondly, So baseball was there, and it was exactly the same as it is now. So,
Even when it changes, it's
even when it
exactly the
changes,
same.
it's exactly the same. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least, so baseball has had a history of making rules, walking back rules,
Oh, yeah.
implementing those rules again, walking them back
Yep.
again. It's the history of the sport, man. I feel like when they make changes in football, it's like big and controversial. It's something that they talk about for years.
I think it's because more people give a shit about football. So there's one. And then number two is like, I don't know, man. Baseball is one of those things where if you tinker with a couple rules, it smooths out because you get 164 fucking games. So, in football, if you get fucked by a new rule on week one, you're like, oh, my season's over. So, yeah.
No. We can go back. I mean, I would argue that the best example of this, of course, being the referee strike.
Yes.
And they had that
Yes.
that game. I think it was Seattle Green Bay that was ruined on like the biggest game of the opening part of the season.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah? You remember that?
I do. I don't. Was it the entire referee staff and they were just pulling people up from NCAA? I can't remember how they were doing that, man.
I don't know if it was NCAA or like unsanctioned football.
Oh, fucking Pee Wee.
Like
Pulling dudes up from quadruple A, yeah.
There's some like underground betting like dirty league that people don't know about,
Right.
Except for like the wealthiest. They like to see teeth get knocked out, and they call these guys up and
Let's do some football.
because they were the only guys that could get on short notice. You know?
Yeah. I had a buddy. Well, I guess I still have him. He's not dead, but
Oh, right.
I guess he's working on it. But he does. He did refereeing for years at the high school level. And he says that's how you get. And he says, so you do it high school first, you just volunteer, or you do it youth league. And then you get noticed, and then you do high school, and then if you get with a decent high school, of course, there's a lot of other guys there, and so then you can get pulled up to NCAA, and then you can get pulled up to the pros. So there's like a whole system behind it. So
it's just not that many pros, man. I mean, there's not that many.
No, there's only a couple dozen crews. So yeah. So yeah, no, it's the tip of the iceberg. So for you to do. My parents, when I was growing up, they had their neighbor up in Denver, in the house that I was like born in. The guy living next door, my parents used to go visit him for years afterwards, was like this really famous referee who had done multiple Super Bowl. He was the Texan guy that they always yell, first down.
Really?
That was him.
Oh.
Yeah. He was a really nice guy. He just lived in a normie house. So, yeah. So...
Well, we knew one too.
Oh, did you?
Kevin's father was a
oh, really?
referee. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
An NFL referee?
No, not NFL.
Oh, okay. But like football? I thought it was basketball. Okay, yeah.
Basketball. I think it was basketball.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because he was a gym teacher, wasn't he?
No, he's
a Spanish teacher. You're right. Yeah, he was a Spanish teacher. So. Yeah, you're right. He was a referee.
Taught his children none of it.
None of that. Didn't even teach his children how to feed themselves.
Well, I mean, they ate. So, I mean, on a...
My dad left me flour.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, when it comes down to... They knew how to scavenge.
They could scavenge.
Or forage, I guess you would call it. And sometimes the foraging, sometimes the foraging was done at your house.
It was done at my house. Yeah,
I mean, they did have some survival tools, but I don't know in terms of basic nutrition. In terms of
no, man. Considering he subsisted off Taco Bell for at least a year straight, so.
Shit does weird things to your heart in those kind of quantities.
In large quantities, the shit does do weird things to your heart.
Yeah, there's something that I haven't seen the 60-year data yet, but I think that Dorito dust is carcinogenic.
Well, you have to eat a lot of it, but sure.
I think when the time comes, the Doritos Locos Taco will be a net hazard.
It'll be on a banned
for society.
List, yeah.
It's not banned, but I mean,
have warning labels like cigarettes on it.
Exactly. They showed this. I was just scrolling, and they showed this clip of New York in like 1910. And
I've seen one of those.
Yeah,
those are neat, man.
They are neat, and they just pointed out. They said, "Do you look through this whole thing? Can you even find a single fat person here?"
Oh yeah. Well, I saw one that was from like New York in 1960, and it was the same thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's all kind of like, who was posting that? Fucking Scott Adams of all people was posting up on that this week. Dude, when that guy comes up, man, it's just kind of like, I know what you're doing, man. So, you're not as poignant as you think you are, but you're right about a lot of things. And he was talking about that, about how like cutting out sugar and wheat.
Right.
And then he just went back to normie status. And it was like, okay. Or you just eat less. Yeah, there's that too.
There's that. So, all right.
I mean, just because you order the triple cheeseburger doesn't mean you need to put all of it in your mouth.
No, and you don't have to get fries with it. It's not a law. So, yeah. I mean, that's part of it. The issue that I have is those things always start making sense, right? Those things always have like a poignant value to them. But there's a catch, because eventually you're waiting. You're like, when's going to be the turn? Because eventually you are going to say the word they, right? And that is...
In parentheses? In triple parentheses?
It doesn't have to be that they. It could have they in it, triple parentheses, but it could be part of just the ruling cabal. It could be the FDA.
The food industrial complex is out to get us.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So eventually, when you get into that, there's going to be a part where they turn on quote unquote they. Right?
Right, yeah.
They want this. They have done this. They made this change on purpose because they knew.
Yeah.
And frankly, Patrick, what are you laughing at?
I can't do they anymore, man. So it's just like, who are we talking about? Top men. It's like, who? Top men. It's like, motherfuckers, we're in the field. Yeah, I'm tired of that too, man. I watched Tucker's thing with Putin the other day. He did nothing but that. The entire fucking time. So,
Putin?
Yeah, did you watch that?
I watched snippets. I didn't watch the whole
God, it's
thing.
painful. So, okay, so the thing that I find painful about it is I hate it when they have that dubbed interpreter voice. I can't stand that. It's just like he's speaking through a speak and spell, man. So, yeah.
No, I watched snippets. I started to watch it, and he started getting into the 1,200-year history of
In the
roost.
beginning.
Yeah.
Before Atlantis sea drank Atlantis.
Yeah. It's funny as I know this shit. I ended up getting introduced to this by some of my students because they are from Russia. So they were constantly doing history projects and so whatever. So I ended up reading up on this. But I can't watch this. I'm like, this is not what this interview was supposed to be. Now, eventually it did get down to business.
It did. It took a while. So I read the transcript. So it was on Tucker's site after a couple days. So it was much less painful to read it than it was to watch it. So,
I don't like Tucker Carlson's voice.
I can't stand. I'm
gonna be honest with you.
He's the most punchable dude on the face of the fucking news.
No
spectrum.
way.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
No
He's
way.
the most punchable dude. So I mean, just the way that he looks at you with that, like, you know, those like cross eyebrows, you know, and the buck teeth, where he's kind of like trying to listen to you. So, you know. So it's weird. He reminds me of PC Principal, man. So, you know.
Him?
Yeah, he does. No, I'll stand by that one, man. So, but I can't.
I have no problem putting him top 5, but I can't make him number 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who's number 1? Most punchable? Journalist?
Yeah, it's okay. So number 1 would be Taylor Lorenz.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
She's a horrible human being.
Yeah. She doesn't pop up that often, though. At least not on my feed.
No, well, oftentimes she's deserving of all the mockery that she gets, but she had a little bit of gusto going there for a while, but basically after bullying a whole bunch of people, fucking cried about it, and her legacy is her making that weepy face, and it kills me every time. It makes me laugh, but I would argue that Cenk Uygur is up there.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, I wouldn't punch him, man. So you want to get your hand back. So
yeah, well, just because I don't want to punch him doesn't mean he's not punchable. I mean, it's like when you.
God, I wouldn't even call him a journalist. So I mean, he's running for president, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's just like it. It's that look. It's that look and the dumb things he says and the completely condescending way upon which he says it, but at the same time is like he comes from the bad universe Barney Rubble.
Yeah, he does.
And you know, it's
not the good one with the war.
No.
Yeah, the bad one.
Yeah.
Barney Rubble was retarded.
He's from the mirror universe, and it's not. I don't like.
Yeah,
him,
okay.
So, I mean,
He's a good one on the list. I follow him just because he says the most ridiculously dumb shit. So from time to time, he's just.
He does.
You know, I mean, like,
and it's the condescending way upon which he says it. That's what gets to me.
Well, his sense of moral authority is unmatched. So,
correct.
Yeah,
with absolutely no ethos to back it up whatsoever.
No, none whatsoever. So, Anna Kasparian's actually gotten better. So,
yeah
she kind of healed up.
She did. It's like It's like everybody that has some kind of like death scare, right? Whenever,
Yeah. I was seconds away from dying. Thank God I had a backup shoot. Yeah. So.
That's the thing. It's a thing from every movie where you're doing the slow pan and there's like fucking cocaine and there's like a used needle and Anna Kasparian is like looking at herself in the mirror and
Oh my God.
after she punches it with her fist, she's over there on the balcony thinking about jumping off, and eventually she came back the next day and she's like, "Don't call me a birthing person," and that was like her.
Oh, that's right. She was the one who said that, wasn't she?
That was like her flatliners moment where she crossed over to the other side.
That's right. That wasn't J.K. Rowling that said that. That was her. So,
yeah, that's correct.
Right.
I think J.K. Rowling has also said something similar to that.
She did.
But
yeah, I mean, she's got like 3 tweets out there where she talks about it. You can find them all. It's really easy. So
well, and she also has a few other, just talking about it matter of factly. But there's like 3 famous ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I did see there was this kind of funny commercial where this shouldn't be funny, but I saw this before the game. It got kicked onto my feed about commercials that were going to be on. And there was this one where, like, there's this mom and her kid, and I don't know who, but they drew a swastika on her garage door.
Okay. This is a commercial?
This is a commercial,
okay.
Yeah. It was so the
Wait a minute, did they draw it on their own garage door?
that's the thing, is they don't say who drew it.
Oh,
but there's this it's a little bit cute where all right, so there's this little girl and she's like looking at the garage, right? And her mom is coming out and she's like, "Oh, look, guys, somebody drew something on our garage." And it's the mom comes out and of course it's that famous like it's the swastika with like "Jews get out."
Oh, okay,
Right. And there's this neighbor, he's like working on his car, and the mom is like, "Get in the car, don't look at it, just get in the car, right?" And then they leave, and by the time it gets back, right, the neighbor's got paint on his shoes.
And he painted over.
Because he painted
Yeah,
over,
okay.
right. So it was kind of cute.
There's a couple that were like that today. So it looked like the Anti-Defamation League had put up a bunch of things. And so they were kind of cutesy like that. I didn't see that one though. So, but there were a couple others.
No, it was cutesy, but I mean, I guess, is that where we're at?
I don't think so, man. So I don't really think so. I mean, the Gaza thing is dying down.
Because Gaza is dying.
Because Gaza is dying. So yeah, they got one city left and they told them to evacuate it by like tomorrow. So
you can put a lid on the boiling water or you can put out the flame.
Yeah.
And Israel has said we're going to put out the flame.
We're going to put out the flame. Yes. So I don't know, man. I mean, I've listened to a few guys here and there who, they're kind of amping up the anti-Semitism. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. So,
well, we don't see it.
Well, I certainly don't see it. But like even when George Floyd thing happened, there was BLM flags and stuff like that. There's none of that, man. I have yet to see a Palestinian flag. I've seen exactly one Israeli flag.
Did you? Where?
Yeah, it's up in my mom's neighborhood. There's one. So yeah.
Your mom's neighborhood? That if it's your mom's neighborhood, that person probably served in like World War II.
It's possible. Yeah. So, but that's the only one that I've ever seen. And then, like the graffiti and shit, I don't see any of that. When BLM was going on, it was all over the fucking interstate. And so, and yeah, some of the areas down there with high concrete walls, the what are they? The not the blast walls. What are they?
The sound walls.
The sound walls. Thank you.
You're killing. I was like, well, yeah, I guess the cut.
I guess so. Yeah.
You stand behind those,
right?
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it's like that. Maybe it is in certain other towns. Who knows? So like, I haven't taken a trip up to the People's Republic of Boulder, so I don't know what it's like up there.
No, I don't either.
When I went through Denver a couple of weeks ago and saw that Mexican motorcycle gang exchanging bodies on the interstate or whatever it was. Denver didn't seem all that
Still
different.
suspect,
It
man.
was very suspect, man. But Denver didn't seem all that different. So I had been there like in about a year, maybe since last fall. So it hadn't been quite been a year, but no, I just don't see that much. So and then like daily interactions with people, I don't hear about it. So I like nobody at my school has expressed any interest in Gaza whatsoever. None of my students. They don't care.
You know what? It's got nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Yes. So they have lives and they have things to do. They have hobbies. So or they have work to do. It's fine. So, but I don't see any of that there. So yeah, the flapping gums of the laptop class have not influenced 99% of the people that I know.
Okay.
The exception being maybe you and my mother. So, yeah. So, we just cannot turn off the Fox News, man. And I get it every day. Did you see what was on the news today? It's like, no, Ma, you want to fill me in?
No, all right. So,
and you're a professional provocateur, so.
You're right. Okay, now, all right. The problem I have with this, right, is I was thinking about this in regards to the 60s. I remember somebody, I can't remember what it was a podcast I listened to years ago, where a person was talking about their parents, right? And I remember they asked their parents, because those were their, like, formative years, and they were asking their parents, like, were you guys hippies? And they're like, God, no.
Oh, yeah. No,
right?
my parents used to talk about 60s all the time, man. So.
And here's the thing, is my understanding of this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that the majority of people, right, wanted nothing to do with that shit.
What, the hippies?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, that was tiny. So.
But if you think about it, when people say the 60s, that is the first image that comes to a lot of people's mind.
Oh, the hippies?
Right? Yes.
Okay, I would say Vietnam, but I guess they're related. So.
I can understand that. But I would say that's one of two things that comes to mind immediately. And I was thinking about this. It's because a lot of that has to do with a lot of the people that were in that movement presented it as omnipresent and were also eventually journalists. And
a lot
people,
of them were, yeah.
Right? And that's where I was wondering for a moment, this little 2023, 24 quagmire, this area that we're in right now, right? The people that are documentarians of this era, right? What exactly are they going to use to basically paint the world as, or the United States as, it was like this?
Well, that depends on how it turns out. So, I mean, it really does.
Well, I mean, we're currently in the thick of it, but I mean, if we were to draw a line right now and say, all right, this is where society ended, how would they paint it?
Oh, right now?
Yes.
That's a good question. So, I don't really know if I have a good answer for that. Well, they certainly got a lot of data to pull from. So, I mean, you could absolutely find all kinds of shit all over Twitter and Facebook and stuff that would make it seem way worse than it actually is.
Absolutely.
But, there's some kind of proof in the pudding, too. So, like, 1968 was a horrible year. So, and it didn't even really have anything to do with the fucking hippies, man. It was all the civil rights shit. I mean, that's the year that Martin Luther King was shot. That's the year Bobby Kennedy was shot. So, there were race riots all over the fucking country. So, like, fucking Cleveland burned down. So, and I mean, you're talking about 5 years going from Selma all the way up to that. It was terrible. And so when my parents would talk about that, the thing is that, eventually the Civil Rights Act gets passed, everything kind of chills out, things go back to normal. And so that, because all that shit was going on, was so weird compared to what everybody else had lived through, that became the defining thing. And so, if in 2 years, if Elon Musk like keels over on a plate of cocaine next week, and Twitter gets broken up into little bitty pieces, and Mark Zuckerberg decides, you know what, fuck it, I just want to live in Thailand now. Okay, then yeah, it'll be defined by this entire thing, because that'll be the last little bit of social media that you have as a reference point. So,
okay.
yeah. But, it's going to continue. And so, quite honestly, 99% of the bullshit is just going to get drowned out because it's a fucking fire hose that just constantly barfs out new shit. So, I mean, people are going to remember COVID for a while, but even that is kind of like, no.
That's old news.
It is old news.
No matter how much they keep trying to resurrect it,
people aren't having it, man.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you know what? Fuck that. We went through that once. It fucking sucked. We just don't want to talk about it anymore. So let's focus on other things. So
no, and there's enough basically like there's enough anecdotal and practical evidence that people have now. I know that there's many places where they're like, we need to get the mask thing going again, and a lot of people are just like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are like, so I didn't wear a mask. Like, yeah, like I caught exactly as much COVID as my neighbor did.
Yeah.
Which was none.
Yeah.
So
no, I go back to the point in time, if you're actually immunocompromised, like I see people every now and then wearing masks, and the first thing I think is not like, oh, liberal stooge. It's like, oh, you probably have cancer, don't you, buddy?
Or something.
That sucks.
Yeah, something.
So,
something where
it's gone back to that. So, yeah.
Which is where it basically was before we started.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you had that one weirdo who'd wear them on the plane every now and then.
you would, and I always I would look at it and I wouldn't see germaphobe. I would always think religious.
Oh, really? Religious?
I don't know why.
That's
I don't know
weird,
why.
yeah.
It was just something where I always picture that person was in there being like, I can't breathe the same air as a Muslim,
Right.
or something like that. I don't know. Or
this plane is full of they.
or the other thing would be like somebody with severe allergies,
Yeah,
or something like that. I could easily see that, but yeah, that's just kind of how I saw that. And look, I'm not going to fault anybody that wants to do it. Again, I think it. The Asians were right about this before. You wear the mask when you're sick, right?
Yeah.
That's for you to stop coughing.
That and when you don't want to do your makeup, apparently. I've heard about that one,
no
too.
problem with that
no
whatsoever.
Problem. Yeah.
I walked through with you the sympathies that I give to women in terms of what they have to do every day, right? Sure. That is like a full hour and some change that they have to scrape out of their day.
Be.
Well, mostly, right?
Can be, yep.
It's almost expected.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, when my wife was going to the office like 5 days a week, I mean, she'd spend at least an hour getting ready every day. Maybe an hour and a half.
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
It just depended on what she had to do. So, or, like who she had to meet that day and stuff.
Right. Anybody especially like with a front-facing job. Right.
Correct.
Absolutely. And it's not like you or me where it's like, it's taking me too long to do my hair, I'm gonna cut it all off.
Yeah.
And people won't have a problem with it.
No, they don't mind. So
they'll say like, why'd you do that? It's like wind resistance.
Right, yeah.
Or whatever. It doesn't matter.
To keep
it's
brain
not
from overheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, it's absolutely fine. And so yeah, I do have that innate sympathy for that.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about COVID no more, man. So it's not an issue. It's basically like an extra thing of flu running around. So now there's two things you can catch at any given point in time.
Right.
Yeah. So, but like last time my mom got it when she was up at that nursing home, man. So they gave her that Paxlovid.
Yeah.
It was gone 3 days. So they got the shit. So it works great.
There you go.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, well you have all these, comorbidities. One of them being 84. So here, take
I'm
this
gonna break
pill.
it to you.
I'm gonna break it to you, but you're gonna want to take this pill just in case.
Miss, you are 84.
Yeah. So, but then it's just like even students, they don't even want to talk about it. It's like such a. It was like, that was fucked up. That was my senior year in high school. Fucking hated that. So it was like, we're not going to talk about it, bro. We're not going to talk about it. It's totally cool. So, and no, I'm not going to make you do the bullshit online discussions because they're bullshit and we all know it. So stop that.
What are you supposed to be discussing?
Whatever I post up there as prompts. So for my classes, yeah. I need to go through this summer and redo a lot of that shit because it needs to be redone for a post-COVID world. But then, we're not going to talk about that anymore. So we're not holding China's feet to the fire on that. So obviously,
no, we kind of
I don't know what you would do, though. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, we should do something." It's like, what? Okay, are you gonna bomb them? So,
That's
is that what you want? There's a lot of them. You know that, right?
well, to me, the appropriate thing would be to send a bill. But
okay, they don't pay it. What the fuck do? You send a tow truck over there and jack all their cars or something? I don't know, man. So it starts seizing ships on the high seas. So this one's contraband.
well, I mean, yeah, it's sort of a obviously you can't do shit about
Right.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's like, well, stop making a point then, man. And so, the more important thing about it is like, all right, so if this starts to happen again with something new, how can we detect it faster? So
That's exactly it. And, when it comes down to it, that also means that, yes, that gives you full impunity to say, you know what? I am stopping all flights between here and here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And there won't be any discussions of racism or anything about
Well,
this.
you'll get accused of that, but I don't think too many people...
Anybody that remembers, anybody that was there would be like, nah.
Exactly.
Because, again, so when it comes down to it, it's because it was COVID, right? If there was even a hint, right, that the Ebola was coming to the United States, they would shoot those airplanes down.
I think they asked him to turn around first, but you never know.
They would ask. But that wouldn't be coming here. Anything that makes you bleed from your orifices, they're like, forget about it. You're not coming.
Yeah. Actually, I can't remember if it was something I read or something I watched a while ago that was all about Ebola. So basically, the disease is so lethal that it like can't spread.
That's my understanding. Yeah, and it's a bloodborne, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to come in contact with someone's bodily fluids. So, yeah, that's a bad one though. But yeah, if something like that were spreading around, man, then sure. All right, so let's actually have a better plan this time. So, and I think we haven't even seen that. Nobody's written an autopsy report on COVID-19 yet. So, there's guys in medical schools and stuff like that are working on that right now. We'll have a better idea in the next 5 years or so. So it'll be fine. And I mean, think about it. That's a real one-off event. That's a rare one. That's weird. So that one was weird.
The question is, see, that's the thing is I feel like we've gotten a few of our one-off events, right? 9/11 was supposed to be our one-off event.
Yeah, but we've been hit by terrorists before, so in that exact fucking building, actually. They pulled it off this time.
I understand that. You're right. You're absolutely right. The success of it was really
that was definitely a one-off. Yeah.
Because I mean, to then, I guess that would be the question. Before then, would you look at like the Oklahoma City bombing as
a terrorist thing?
Well, I mean, it clearly was, but
yeah, but it was different, man. And I mean, those are different times, man, because you had all that Ruby Ridge stuff and things like that going on. Yeah, so there was some differences to it. But I mean, everybody immediately saw Timothy McVeigh for what he was. So they're like, we all know a guy like that. Okay.
Well, he had that face.
He had that face, and he just took it way too serious, man. He was the guy who was passing out literature from the back of his car. So, and we're like, yeah, I know a guy like that. He deals in Jesus books, but, this guy deals in, like, how to make pipe bombs. So,
The problem is, okay, so the distribution of literature from your car is not something that's inherently wrong. However,
it is weird, Jeff.
It is something maybe just like, hey, why don't you just keep an eye on that dude for like a week?
Right.
If anything weird pops up, we'll follow up on it. But if not, forget all about it.
Right.
Right. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the occasional, hey, there's been some suspicious activity. As a matter of fact, the case, where was it? This was a landmark case where they sentenced the mother of the shooter.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a big deal.
I don't really know the details behind it, but
I was hoping you would.
No, I'll look into it though, because I did see that. That was like in Connecticut or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I saw that. But I had read something on it a while ago, and it was like really a real like gnarly neglect case. So that was kind of stapled on the school shooting. I'm not quite sure about that one though.
So it's not as black and white as kid does this, mom goes to jail.
No. No, I mean, well, I mean, the Columbine shooters, their parents never faced anything. So, I mean, it's because most of the time, when you have like a situation where a guy's going to do something like that, he just kind of does it. So, and there's very few like, upfront warning flags. The one thing that would be interesting to know is like exactly how many school shootings have been prevented. So, and nobody has an answer to that because there's no way to track it. So, there's no way to track it.
Right.
So, I mean, we had one here not too long ago, where they caught somebody online making threats, and they had already bought the guns and the ammo and stuff.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I think they were going to go up to Castle Rock or something like that. So,
yeah,
but they got that person, and so I'm just kind of kidding. I mean, so okay, there you go. There's one that shows up on local news, but will never show up anywhere else.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So who knows, man? I hope somebody tracks that somewhere, but to be fair, I haven't looked for it. So.
I haven't had occasion to. I mean,
yeah,
it hasn't crossed my desk.
No, and I don't worry about that one too much. So, I mean, so there's a one-off kind of thing. I think the first Columbine was pretty one-off.
I agree. Yeah,
but then it kind of spawned all these, and I mean, that's just kind of a thing you do now if you're like disaffected or, I don't even know, man.
Well, it used to be sort of like they had an approach. They had a disenfranchisement sort of approach on this. They'd always be I was asking you guys. I was asking you and my brother about this last session where it was something that sort of put the spotlight on bullying. Right?
Yeah, it did.
Because the narrative on this, not that they were ever trying to clear the two kids on this in terms of these poor souls, but it was something where they did highlight this and say, is this something that could have been prevented by looking at bullying? And I do believe that opened a new approach to it.
It sure did.
In the way that when you guys said it to me, the bullying you described was almost non-recognizable.
Oh no, it's totally different than when we were in school.
Yeah,
it's completely different. But we were all out of school before Columbine even happened. So
not by far. I was.
You were maybe at a couple of years out, or maybe a year. When was that? 99.
Yeah, so it would have been
okay.
1 year.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. All
right. Yeah, I would have been in my first year.
Yeah, but then it was a while before you started seeing a bunch of follow-up instances of that. So that, like in 99, that one was a one-off. We were like, oh, this can never happen again, blah, 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 blah. And then like 5 years later, it's like, oh, there's another one. And then a year later, there's another one. And then next year, there's 4. Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember at the time, okay, man, this does go far back. So I remember talking about with a guy I haven't seen in since he graduated. Yeah, because he went in the service. Mm-hmm. He was saying, he was talking about it. He's like, so I went before I transferred here, I was in school in Pueblo. Mm-hmm. He's like, that wouldn't work in Pueblo because if they drew, then 10 guys would draw back.
Yeah.
He's like, there were shootings in school, mm-hmm. but it wasn't like that.
Yeah, and I mean, but then they did all the metal detectors and stuff like that. Yeah. They got all that shit out of there.
Yeah.
So, they got like every school's got an SRO now if it's over a certain number of kids in it. So there's all kinds of shit that are just there. Like my daughter's school, it's got 3 armed guards. So these are private security dudes. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a bit different than it used to be, man. So, but yeah, the bullying, they don't tolerate any of that. So, and the same thing's true with, I mean, they've had trouble like combating the problem. So, because it's like whack-a-mole. So it'll pop up somewhere else. It's just kind of the nature of being a teenager. As a teenager, you suffer from the condition known as puberty, which turns you into an asshole.
No, and fortunately, fortunately it's terminal.
It's terminal, yeah. So it's only going in one direction, buddy. So, but I mean, still at the same point in time, people do get through it. So, and then when, you put a lot of guardrails on things. I mean, I've seen some of that, like on the back end with students in college who are extra sensitive to certain things. But you know what? They're not like that. They're not like that now, like the way they were 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, they were much worse than they are now.
I could see that. Yeah. I could see that. The thing that bothers me especially when you look at that section of man children known as the laptop class, right? This whole thing,
The journalist class.
yes,
Who are rapidly losing all of their jobs. Yeah.
you guys are just bloggers. The thing about terminal puberty, the thing that always gets to me is that it takes. Eventually, you have to forgive yourself for the crappy things you did because of terminal puberty, right?
Yes.
But the other thing is you also have to forgive others.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't do that second part. They always take that second part as completely personal and an indication that all human beings are rotten.
Right, yeah. Well, there's no redemption track, so anywhere in that. So,
yes.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The crappy things that you did are the crappy things that were done to you.
Right.
It doesn't make it right. And you know what? To be fair, it makes the actual human gemstones of that era shine even brighter. When you look at people, you're like, man, you were such a good person all the way through, right? You were stuck in so many situations where you didn't have to do the right thing. And you did them anyway.
Yeah.
God bless you, right? But yeah, that's the thing, is you have to forgive others for that too. It's like, human beings are overwhelmingly good.
Oh, yeah, I'm objectively so.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
objectively so. Especially in this country, man. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you go to other parts of not America out there, and then, you have some problems, but,
Where's that? What train track?
Everything that's not red, white, and blue, John. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about peso territory.
The peso territory, yeah. Well, that's even funny, too. I was actually reading up on that the other day. The Mexicans aren't even coming over the border.
Nope.
So, the jobs in Mexico are great. So, it's all Chinese and Laotians.
We got the Mexicans that we're going to have.
Yeah, we do. We got the ones that we're going to get. Yeah.
Exactly. No, there's a big Venezuelan rush.
There is. So the thing that I saw that was actually really interesting, the two biggest groups are Chinese and Indians. So, and the reason why they're the biggest groups is because they've hit this like $10,000 per capita income thing. Okay. Wow. So, and that makes it feasible to pay in order to get across the border. Yeah. So, and so that was a really interesting kind of thing. And that was the other thing that did kind of suck. Well, I think we talked about that before, where the border just suddenly is like, oh, it's not a problem anymore because we're not going to talk about it because we're going to talk about Travis Kelce. So, and it was like, fuck off. So that's important,
right?
Let's get back to that. And I've got a couple guys who got back to it, but then I got a lot of other guys who moved on to other bullshit. And so I was like, all right, well, that one's still going. So.
Well, so the nice thing, no matter what happens in this game, I don't know, I don't care, but. At least the game is now over. So unless Travis Kelce basically throws her from a moving train or something, they are out of the news for a while.
Oh, God damn it, the Chiefs did win. Fuck.
They did?
They did.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, unless she's got that mugshot with like bruises all over her face, this news between them is over at least for a little while.
Yeah, it'll go away for a bit.
So that's done.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll just see. And the same thing's true with Gaza in some respects, man. I mean, you started to see exactly what the Israelis have in mind. And it's like, oh, they're going to do this regardless, huh? Okay. So.
Yeah, I don't think they're pooling opinions anymore.
No, I don't think so either. No. And like everybody, it was. Like, okay, so winter hits and all the, the campuses got really cold in the Northeast, and so all of a sudden it's not that bad. That's like, really? Yeah. So, it's like, that's convenient.
That's quite poignant, Patrick. It's too cold to be outraged anymore.
It is. It's too cold to be outside in this shit. So, yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. Like and so like the thing is like even some of the lefty guys that I watch on Twitter or watch their podcasts and stuff, they've been banging on the same drum for like 2 months now, and it's just like everybody's gotten used to the beat. So it's like it's not even there. Yeah. So it's like, all right, guys, okay. So. I mean, if you stop doing that, we might notice, but, you're not going to. Like Max Blumenthal every fucking day. He's out there doing his thing. So telling me how I'm an awful person.
What did you do?
I'm not riding in fucking frigid weathers on the campus square. So
You would
buy $9 of taxes. I'm not objecting. I'm not doing a tax strike. So, which I've heard people call for, which is the stupidest way to actually protest your government. so
explain this. This is totally foreign to me. What is this?
Oh, people are telling other people don't pay your federal taxes. So, in order to have a taxpayer strike. Yeah, you haven't heard that.
Ain't gonna work out for you.
They ain't gonna work out for any of them, man. And here's the stupid thing about it: the government already has your fucking money, okay? Because they withheld it all year long.
Unless you're one of the few people that basically drew the zero and said exempt and said, "I'm gonna write you a check at the end of the year." Yeah,
that's
you're
right.
right.
Yeah,
you're right.
I did that one time. That was a bad idea. So
okay, so if you are, I will say this. You can make it through better by doing that, in theory.
Yeah.
But I am not that human being. I'm not, it's a...
Where you pay them quarterly or whatever?
No, well, basically, I mean, so if they withhold your money, right? The bottom line is you can't do anything with that.
Right, yeah.
Right?
So it's not earning you interest or anything.
Correct.
Right.
So if you have the wherewithal to track this, right, and say, okay, this is what I expect to owe, I'm going to do this with this money. But seeing as that I'm a simpleton and I see numbers go in, so I'm like, okay, well, these dollars are mine. Well, then these dollars can go up, blah, 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 blah. And then, sometime around January, you get these sheets, and they say, like, hey, you owe this much money. Oh, my God! It's outrage. It is sort of for your own good, unless you are really diligent about that shit. I am not.
Yeah, I'm not either. So, and I don't really care all that much. So, I mean, it's not like my bank account returns more than 0.01%. Anyway.
No, that's where it became like sort of a stupid thing.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, too, you'd have to be somebody that's actually doing something better with your money. Like, you're actively putting that towards something that would really...
Oh, right, yeah. You got to put it to productive use.
Absolutely. Yeah. Instead of fucking Doritos Locos Tacos.
Right, yeah. So, and Steam downloads.
Yeah, kind of. Man, it's...
I gotcha.
There is a part of that where, yes, all right, fine, this is your piece.
I did see a pilot program where the IRS is actually going to have their own, like, TurboTax software on their site, finally. Where you can just do it on the IRS's website.
Makes sense to me.
It does it makes complete sense to me. So
feels like something that's actually should have been overdue for the past like 50 years.
For 99% of us out there, yeah. And so they raised the deductible this year too. So the standardized deduction. So everybody will be taking that anyway. So so it's just like, well, yeah, this should be easy. So why do I have to go to Jackson Hewitt to,
No, it did. To be fair, that whole system, if you look at it in hindsight and you say, like, all right, so as they put it, they said, all right, so they calculate what you owe. Mm-hmm. It's up to you to calculate what you owe, but they've already calculated what you owe.
They do, yeah.
Right? And if it's off, they blame you for it, and you have to pay for this.
Yes.
Like, let's just tell you.
Yeah, just tell me.
Just
tell me. And then if I don't agree with that, I'll dispute it. So, yeah.
Then I'll take it to Jackson Hewitt. Right. They'll go through the numbers and say, we're Jackson Hewitt, bitches. Argue with this math.
We're H&R Block.
Yeah.
The strong arm. So...
Yeah,
no, you're right. And I think it sounds like it's actually moving in that direction. So... especially that was especially true with like the state taxes, so which they've fiddled with a lot. We're supposed to get a big check this year back from the state.
Are we?
Yeah, Tabor refunds like $600 a person or something.
It's good. All right, I'm happy to get that. I'm glad that they're not taking that and saying like, oh, we have to house migrants in Denver with this.
Well, they tried and everybody voted it down. So
yeah, fuck 'em.
Yeah, no, you have to approve. The refund comes to us automatically unless you do a Tabor override. And I voted for that a couple times in the past. Like the first time when the city was like fucking ripping all the street lights out.
I remember that.
Yeah. So
how did we get out of that?
we got a Tabor override. So, yeah, they were like, hey, if we can keep this, we can actually fix all the roads. And people were like, that's what you're supposed to use the money for. That's great. Have at it. So I will pay $500 to make sure that, we have streetlights and no potholes.
Okay.
So, and they did a good job, and they did
Okay.
all that stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah, but yeah, I'm not paying for Denver's migrant issue, so which the local news is very unforgiving about. So, almost hilariously so.
Sorry, man. That's your thing. It is time to name and shame, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
That's what you get. I have zero sympathies for this.
Well, and the hilarious part is that, so Denver itself, the city of Denver is not very big. So it's basically donated by all these other cities.
Right.
All of whom have told Denver to fuck off. So, yeah, and so you got
do not speak for us.
You do not speak for us. And so, yes, see this on this side of I-25, no migrants over here. So, yeah. So, it's like, wait a minute, you guys are how far west? So, yeah, the border ends at Federal Boulevard, huh? I got it. So, And so all the cities, like Arapahoe kicked them all out, Aurora kicked them all out. So Denver was trying to rent hotels in their neighborhoods. They're like, fuck no, you're not. You're not gonna happen. So yeah, and so you gotta keep them. And then Denver was like complaining, we got $180 million budgetary shortfall, and the rest of the people in Colorado aren't helping us out. Everybody unanimously told them to fuck off. We need to stand up together as fellow Coloradans. Just like, fuck you.
Fucking think about renting out fucking hotels in those 17th Street areas and shit.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem is, like, that's Denver. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
If you want if you want to pay by the hour, that is somewhere else in town. That would be down on Arapahoe. So, yeah.
And you guys don't, they just, you don't have the guts to be like, all right, so here's where we're at. It's like, what? It's like, so we're not migrants, we have to house them. It's like, yes. It's like, okay. Mm. So that's a hole.
That's a hole.
We dug it.
Yeah.
We're going to put plywood on top of it, and we're going to pack as many of you in there as you can.
Yeah.
Just because we're giving you a space and basically like lifting the lid off and throwing soup at you, right? Every 3
shaking rice out like fucking birdseed. Yeah.
Just throwing like Wonder Bread in there, yeah. And just like, look, we have a responsibility to house you, we have a responsibility to feed you. It will not be luxurious. It will be packed like sardines. Well, I mean, that's the...
I don't even know. I mean, is that part of being a sanctuary city? So you've kind of like declared that you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not a legal thing.
In some places it is.
Oh, okay.
Well, like, I know in New York it is.
Well, yeah, they got a fucked up state law, though, that makes all that mandatory. Yeah, no, like, I saw a whole deep dive on that maybe like a couple months ago and realized exactly how fucked New York City is.
There are so much trouble.
It's not as bad as Chicago, but yeah. So... No.
Chicago is...
Oh. Chicago's bad. So...
I can't believe how bad it is. I can't believe...
There's interesting statistics that, it's more likely that you get shot as a white man in Phoenix than as a black man in Chicago. So,
yes,
totally,
but
yeah.
That's the thing is there's
if you take like the top 3 cities out of like the U.S. in terms of crime statistics, we shoot up like above Canada in terms of being safe.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Yep. There's all kinds of weird crime statistics out there, man. Chicago's like usually like leading the pack on a bunch of them, but still, like it's more nuanced than people think it is. So
no, it is. But at the same time, what I can tell you is that if you took every... Let me see if I remember the groups. If you took every white, Asian, Native American, and Hispanic out of Chicago, murder would only go down by 24%.
Murder would only go down?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think anybody disputes the idea that actually there's concentration of violent crime in black neighborhoods, and especially urban communities in the Rust Belt. I mean, those are all your worst cities right there for that shit. So you don't have that in San Diego or in Miami, which are predominantly Hispanic cities. So they use knives, or they fight it out. So in
I mean, there are
Chicago,
still shootings, but I mean, yeah, you're
it's
right.
not the same,
not
man.
the same.
It's not the same. You don't
No.
settle your shit with fucking shotguns down in those cities.
Bats.
Bats and chains
Yeah,
and shit
yeah.
like that, you know. So yeah, you fuck up a guy's car.
Yeah, that's some petty anti shit, but I mean, that's sort of going across. Yeah. No, it's the same. Like, if you remember, like, that was when the BLM shit was headed to the Latin neighborhoods. They weren't having
Oh no, they weren't having it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's because the cartels have basically destroyed every black gang in the country. They really have. So, and they've murdered their way through them. So, is what they've done. So, you know, there's like, yeah, you can't find very large black gangs in most cities in America anymore. Not like you did back in the 90s. So, because they've basically all been killed by the cartels.
Yeah, those were practically quaint in comparison.
Right, yeah, when we were actually wearing blue or red out on the street, yeah. So, and we made movies about saving you people. Yeah, exactly. So, it doesn't work like that anymore.
No.
So, yeah. Just find out you wind up in an acid bucket somewhere.
Yeah, it was back in the 90s, there were so many like moral dilemmas. There were so many good eggs that were, you know, forced into a lifestyle that if somebody just gave them the chance, they could fight their way out.
Oh yeah. It's got a heart of gold. Yeah, it ain't like that anymore, man. So the gangs that we have nowadays are fucking scary. They are fucking scary.
Well, okay, so that being said, gangs have been scary. Gangs have been scarier than these gangs.
Oh, the current ones?
Yes.
The cartels? I don't know
Yes,
about
yes.
that.
Well, especially, okay, I'm not just talking about here. Like, say, for example, I know that the things that I've heard about the Russian mob are
legendary.
absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is just, I mean, it's a without mercy kind of culture. So I guess it would kind of like
It very much so is, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if this is something, you know, again, there's a lot of talk, and they're absolutely right about this, that a lot of this does go on because of the free access to our border, and I do understand that that's a problem. My solutions obviously aren't going to get implemented. It was funny when they joked about it, because they had all those AI pictures of moats.
I did see some of those
with electric alligators and shit.
Right? Yeah. So I saw one with clay pigeons that threw landmines. Yeah.
Did you think of me?
I did. In fact, I was like looking at the tag. I was like, this could be Jeff. But no, so it's gonna be an issue. It's gonna come back around. So sooner probably rather than later. So Donald Trump, once he gets, so they did their hearing for the Colorado case the other day.
It seemed like they indicated that it was pretty clear that they weren't gonna,
like, unanimously.
Yeah.
So even the new one, Ketanji Jackson Brown, was grilling their lawyer pretty good. So it's like, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
So yeah, even like Roberts was like, what gives one state the right to fuck up the election for everybody else? Kind of basically is what he was saying.
That's sort of a, how dare you blame
Dare
this
you?
dude?
Yeah, do you know where you are? Yeah.
Dad owns a dealership. Yeah, I know. It was sort of incredulous. It's kind of, what the fuck,
It
man?
kind of was, yeah. So I actually listened to a chunk of that.
That's fascinating.
It was pretty interesting. I mean, I didn't realize that the case that they were making was so fucking thin. So it really was.
It's dog shit. Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily. It hinges on a technicality, and so so they're trying to move a rock with a very little lever. So just like everything, like the papers and stuff. Okay, so fine. All right, he took it. All right, so yes, there's technically a violation of statute here. Got it. Okay, same thing with this. So, okay, technically there is a violation of statute here under Colorado law. Got it. Okay, so, but does that give Colorado, and particularly, one element of the political structure in Colorado, the ability to kick the dude off the national, headline on the state ballot. Probably not. So we'll find out here. That I think we'll get that ruling probably this week. So
I believe
they
so.
seemed like they were going to move on it pretty quick. The other one probably take a little bit longer. But...
What's the other one?
Oh, the documents, the Mar-a-Lago thing. And so, fucking Joe Biden the other day. Did you watch his fucking press conference?
Jesus
it is so painful.
Christ.
It is so fucking painful.
I think they've actually hung him out to dry now.
You might be right about that, man. So, I mean, the thing that I was watching it with Matt Taibbi. So he was actually live streaming it. Oh, him and Walter Kern. So, who I love, man. I love that guy.
You turned on that guy.
He is so mealy-mouthed, and so he talks like he's got nothing but cotton balls and marbles for a diet. So, but, he's like pretty insightful on some of this stuff, and both of them watched that shit live. So, it was hilarious. So, because they were just like, we're being set up. This has got to be a setup. So, and they were pointing out that like as soon as Biden started taking questions, he got jumped by the entire fucking press corps. And they were like, Matt was like, I have yet to see anybody do that to him like that.
No.
Yeah.
No, that was what was crazy about it was
they jumped his shit. So, yeah.
That's why I thought it's that report where they said what's the exact line? It's basically like
we're not
old. Yeah, we're not going to prosecute him because
he's a nice old man who doesn't know where he is. It was like that's brutal, man. But and the next day everybody's it's a political hit job. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's it's a Republican investigation. We get that, all right, but still, at the same point in time, what about it is wrong? So, I mean, the guy couldn't even remember like when he was vice president. So, and and it was like, come on, man, it's time to. So, it wasn't Matt. It was someone else called this. What was it? Political hospice. So, which is brutal, man. So it's absolute political hospice. You're just, they know they can't get the next person. So
how many?
All the parentheses on this one. So, all right, I'm going to be specific rather than say they on this one. So,
don't say they unless you mean it.
I don't mean it in this case. Yeah. I'm going to talk specifically about the DNC. So, the DNC specifically, okay, know that there's no way they'll get their chosen Kamala Harris in there. The reason why they want Kamala Harris in there is because if she goes back to California, she's going to take that Senate seat away from fucking babyface Adam Schiff. So he's going after Feinstein's old seat. He's basically a lock for it. So that motherfucker should not be in the Senate. But anyway, it's California's call, whatever. So,
right.
But yeah, they cannot get rid of. This is why, so there's another guy that I listen to, Mickey Cows. He's great, but he gets a little conspiratorial at time to time. But he's actually on the zone here. It's like this is why they're exactly trying to get. They're pushing really hard to try and get Michelle Obama to step in because she's a black woman, so she can just supplant, Kamala Harris, and they can shuttle her off to the side. And Michelle Obama's like, "Fuck you! I like sitting on the beach."
No, I believe what they said was that she's like, I saw what my husband went through, and I don't want to do that.
Yep, exactly. So, but they keep gyrating. So it's and the other they are a handful of very specific journalists. So who I've kind of pegged out here, but they're also they know these very specific people. Well, name if you want me to. So understand exactly how badly Donald Trump will beat anybody. Except for the possibility of maybe Joe Biden. But that's going away now, too. And so...
Yeah,
he would beat anybody else in the Democratic Party like a drum. So,
which is kind of wacky if you think about it.
It's a weird flowchart logic, man, of like playoff standings and stuff. Yeah, it's weird.
Well, but
Joe Biden's not going to make it, man. He ain't going to make it. I think you're right. So...
I'm telling you, I think that's why they put him out there like that, where...
Well, and they told him to go back to the fucking podium too. That was weird, man.
It's wacky. So that's why I said they hung you out to, like, the whole thing was for you to basically defend your competence. right?
Why then he forgot what he was talking about halfway through it?
Yeah, yeah. He's basically it's just like so. You know, he's going through this. He can't remember these things. He's communicating with the dead. You know, he's like, well, I had a conversation with him last week because that dude died in heaven. You know, it's that.
I'm not too worried about him jacking up names of like German chancellors and shit like that. I mean, it's all indicative of like a deeper mental problem. I don't want to get hung up on the details of that, but everybody's had an elderly parent or relative or something like that. It's like, that's that guy. So we all know how this one ends, and ooh, this one's going fast. So
well, it is. Yeah, you see that in that stage, and also it's the biggest problem I have is when people get in that state. Okay, they become very open to suggestion, and that's the problem. That's the problem I've had with this administration for a long time. Is I honestly think that they run shit by him. Okay,
who's they?
I think that his crew runs shit by him, and he's very open to suggesting, because I think there's a lot of things that in eras gone by, you know, even a Democratic president would say like, people aren't ready for that. Stop it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because when you look at that fucking carnival sideshow of people in his cabinet.
Oh,
right?
Okay, so yeah, I'll give you that there's some weirdos, but I'm going to defend a couple of them. There's a couple guys that he's got are pretty fucking sharp.
That's certainly fine, right? But you're going to tell me, you're going to look at that.
Don't use that one as a fucking. I know who you're going for, the Secretary of Transportation or whatever it was.
Okay, that's the worst.
Yeah,
example.
I get
it.
No, actually, I think the Republicans are onto something here. That Mayorkas is probably the worst.
Okay, look,
So I read some of that shit. I was like,
you know,
oh my God,
yeah, I'm not gonna. Okay, but I got you there.
I'm talking about a guy who's a window licker, man. Anyway,
it's been a lifetime of looking up.
You found one.
Looking up other people's tests. That's fucking idiot. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of things that because of this, it just is like, oh yeah, go with it. That makes sense. Go with it. Go with it. And I really don't think a lot of the decisions were his. Again, this goes to
some of them. I'm waiting for the book someday. I still think I'm almost positive that he's the guy who pulled the pin on Afghanistan. So
I wouldn't doubt that.
And the same thing, like maybe not so much like the CHIPS Act, but definitely I think the Infrastructure Act, he was really involved in that too. So it kind of makes sense with his background.
I would understand that, but there's a lot of stuff where it's just like scatterbrained shit, where it's just like somebody runs something to it. It's like, try this. It's like we think we can wipe out all this student debt without people. It's like, yeah, just sign that.
Yeah.
No, go. You know, and that's the kind of thing. That's why I said there's zero continuity to his.
Yeah.
And
I have less of a problem with the student debt one, because the student debt that he's been wiping out is the kind of student debt that my old school used to issue people, and it was bullshit.
Well, that I totally understand.
And so he did a lot of that. And I don't know if it was him or his Secretary of Education that said, hey, you know what, we can try this and we can do it in little driblets here. But the idea that they're actually going to chew through that to the point in time where they start forgiving debts for people who actually attend a state school, it's never going to fucking happen. So
that's the part that...
It's never going to fucking happen.
No, that's the piece that I had a problem with, because I'm like,
sure.
Oh man, this is biblical. This is no, seriously. The labor is worthy of his hire.
Right.
These people deserve to get paid. You deserve to pay them.
Yeah.
They gave you the service.
Come on, man. Jubilees. That's in the Bible too. What is it, every 7 years? All debts are forgiven, so if you gotta collect them, you better fucking do it before 6 years is out. So.
All right. Well, no, hold on now. Now, maintaining debt is more of an Old Testament kind of thing. Very much with a very specific kind of they.
The one with all the breath.
I don't think we have to fight too hard for a title.
No, I don't think so either, yeah.
I don't want people to think that this they is, like infiltrating the species like the Thing. You know, like it's...
like spiky cells that take
No, they just have different views on... Look, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Right? Because, generally speaking, if that comes up, I'll usually talk about Hollywood next. All right? And that's
okay.
And that's because it's disproportionate. But that's fine.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? But, I think that's where the the administration that is, like I said, it has no through line. It has just a couple of things. There's so many just like throwing darts, hoping to hit something that sticks.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what happens when the guy goes to bed at 7 p.m. every night. And so, then the kids, like, run around in the playroom and try and figure out what they're going to do tomorrow. I get that. I mean, there are a couple guys that I do think are pretty competent. So, in his administration, there are a bunch of boobs, so as well.
Bunch of boobs, and
But that's every administration in some respects. It's just, obviously, this one's kind of rudderless. So, because he just doesn't have the bandwidth.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So he doesn't have the bandwidth, and he
doesn't have the RAM.
Okay, that's a better way to put it. Yeah, he doesn't have the RAM. So there's a lot of shit going on, where he's going to get pushed in a lot of different directions. And then there's a lot of people. And like, if I want to start naming journalists, so out there are some people who like bang on him from outside the window, tapping the glass. Hey. Do this, kind of thing. And it's like, stop that. All right. So you, Mr. Perpetually Wrong Guy, David Frum. So shut the fuck up. So you take your buddy, Bill Crystal over there, and guys go both jump off the same fucking bridge.
Blow each other.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, do whatever it takes to entertain yourselves. But...
No, that's fine. Just do it as you both are falling out of a hot air balloon. That's fine.
Great.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
So,
That's fine.
So, But then, there's more. But those guys are at the top of my list this week. So, but it's one of those things where he doesn't have much time left. So, I mean, he might live for a few more years. So, but I mean, it's going to be he's rapidly approaching applesauce age.
Well,
so
I guess I would ask you this. This is something that I would wonder about. Then, all right, Is it something? Okay, we do have a sort of. I saw the figures on this the other day. Like the layers of upper government have gotten considerably older in the past.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is this something that is that abnormal, or is that the trend? Are we going that way? Is this to be expected? Or?
That's probably the trend. So because people live a hell of a lot longer than they used to. So yeah, I mean. So, like, it used to be you had a 70-year-old president. That guy was kind of an outlier. So, like, shit, I don't even think FDR made it to his mid-60s or so. And he was one of the older ones.
I would be surprised if he did. I mean, given everything that he was basically surviving, I mean...
Well, yeah, and he smoked, like, fucking 8 packs of cigarettes a day. So Eisenhower was the same way, man, So, I mean, but there's
just the life.
Right, you hit the gene lottery on that one, man. So apparently, tar does not affect your internal organs. So that's your superpower, huh? Got it. But yeah, so that's part of it. The other part of it is like, a lot of people get involved in government and stuff like that. It takes a long time to claw your way up that motherfucker. And so, with only having, and I mean, so if you were to have me fix the Constitution, like right off the bat, there's two things. Number one is term limits, and number two is like fucking quadruple the size of the House. So, you get a lot more people in there, then you get a lot more churn, you get a lot better ideas, and then, a lot of people rotate in and out a little bit better rather than having like one person represent fucking 700,000 people now. So,
it's an interesting point. Yeah.
But that's kind of how it works. So, and, I mean, when we talk about they and, the deep state, you're not talking about, like, fucking Mr. Burns' Machiavellian dudes who are sitting in the Pentagon. You're talking about a general who has done his 35 years, and he's got 2 to go before he's on mandatory retirement. That's your deep state right there. Is that guy going to fuck the rock the boat when he's 2 years away from retirement? No. He's thinking about golf courses, baby. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're not like there's no like smoking man or fucking deep throats, in there. It's civil servants who, it's like just 2 more years before I can get out of here. I'll get my gold watch and go. That's because the civil service works that way, man. So Donald Trump's idea of actually taking like the number of presidential appointees and like quadrupling that is actually a pretty fucking good idea because you'll turn it over like every 4 to 8 years. So you'll still have a big chunk of the civil service that's still there. Okay, so the lights will stay on, the ships will run, and stuff like that. But
so it just staggers more.
it just stagger it a lot more.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good idea. Now he's too fucking lazy to actually fill out the government. If he did that, so don't get your hopes up.
Yeah,
Man.
you want to talk about some grade A delegate? Yeah. I mean, he just passed that job down. Just basically, he wouldn't even pick the person. It's just the closest person. It's like, you do this.
If he even could be bothered to do that. Yeah, so...
No, he could give somebody like a pen and paper and say, you do this.
Probably could. The question is, would he? I don't know. So...
I have no idea. Look, there's...
The guy is stunningly lazy. So...
It'd
probably be better if he comes back around again, since he's not back on Twitter, man. So...
that's the thing. I'm just absolutely stunned with this many years later, and I cannot completely put my finger on this man and say moron, genius, all points in between.
He's kind of all of those things.
I mean, there's.
I mean, I would definitely agree that he's got a level of political genius that we have not seen since like Ronald Reagan.
Absolutely.
So he's got some shit figured out, and everybody can see that he's got some shit figured out. And then the quaking laptop class who fundamentally recognize that he's got a way better idea of where people are at than they do. Is fundamentally offensive to their very existence.
Yeah. So, and the fact that basically the biggest problem with the laptop class and Donald Trump, right, is that the predictions of genocide never came true.
No.
He never did any of the things that they thought and swore up and down would be happening.
Yeah, no. I mean, so I guarantee you, like, if you deal with that guy in business or in family relations, there's probably some piece of him that is malevolent. So,
Absolutely.
But him rounding up kids and Muslims and stuff like that, he would never do. I mean, the guy like hates the sight of any like. I mean, he's not violent, so no, he's not a violent dude. He doesn't want that. He just wants everybody to love him. So
that's it.
His motivation is really easy to figure out, and so you can see him gyrate out there when people like criticize him and stuff. He'll flip it right back on them. And then pit, certain constituencies against others in those situations, the very fine people, whatnot, and blah, 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 which wasn't even what he actually said.
No, it's not.
No, well, it's what he said, but it's probably not what he meant. So
no, that's exactly. You
Correct.
Have to really take it out of context.
You do. So, no, I don't see any of that. And, I mean, the same thing's true with, like, a lot of the other stuff that, his administration was involved in as well. I mean, he was reluctant to do a lot of things. So, but when it came down to it, and he says, okay, we're going to bomb the fuck out of ISIS. We bombed the fuck out of ISIS, just like we did, the president before, and the president before that, and the one after that. Yeah, so,
Hey, dude, even France got in on that. So, I mean...
Well, of course, yeah. France, right now, who is refusing to send their navy down to the Red Sea. So, I think we're going to leave, Jeff. I think we're going to leave. Yeah. I think we're kind of done with it. So,
I think there's a possibility that we leave, but sort of watch from a distance.
Yeah, from
with the
New York.
All right.
Yeah.
When you say leave, you mean leave.
I think that the level of tolerance and the people that I've been seeing banging the drum for bombing Iran and stuff, there's no stomach for it. There is none. So there's nothing.
It's just, why would you guys start this up?
And that's exactly what it is. And anybody who starts any shit like that is committing political suicide. So, and Donald Trump will absolutely point that out. So I'd be like, oh, I mean, he's already been doing it. He's going to get us another war, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think that's where that's going. So, but still, at the same point in time, it's possible. But it's a good political point. So,
Well, it's a correct political point.
It is, but I don't think he's going to give us another war. So he's doing like these little things here and there, just, pew pew.
No,
So, yeah.
of course. Oh, look, and that's a I would imagine that's a phone call to his predecessor about how to handle certain things, and I think
Barack Obama?
Yeah.
You think Barack Obama's telling Joe Biden what to do?
I would argue that at times they've probably talked with each other.
Oh, I guarantee it they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guarantee they would do. But you look back at Barack Obama's foreign policy, it was terrible.
No, it was terrible, and fucking drone strike everything, and that's
right, yeah.
You know.
So use these drones that shoot like ninja darts at everybody. So, it's fucking terrifying. So,
Barack Obama droned a lot of people.
He droned a lot of people.
Droned a lot of way more people than people like to give him credit for.
Oh yeah.
Or blame for. Depends on.
Oh no, they all got to point the finger at George W. Bush, the perpetual bad guy president of the last 30 years. So
hey, listen. When it comes to George W. Bush, I will accept any and all criticism that you want to give him. What I will say is that every person following in his path had the option to end those things at any time.
Yeah.
At any time, and they did not.
No, they did not.
Until, as you said...
Yeah, Joe Biden says, get the fuck out. The general's is like Thursday. By Thursday.
There is one thing to be said. It's like, wait... Did you forget whose job is what?
Right, yeah. Stand in front of this desk. Attention, sir.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, so maybe you think I'm asking.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just be clear about this. Yeah. So I don't know, man. But
yeah.
that one's kind of a shit show. So it's just like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of war porn out there that I keep watching. So it's
like shit blowing up, or
shit blowing up and people arguing for like blowing up more shit and stuff like that. It's like, if you guys just want to get in another fight, man. I got it. So you went to Iraq and you didn't get what you wanted out of it. So let's go back and do another fight and maybe you can win this one. It's like, nah, we got to worry about China. So
that's the thing. There is. I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to think. There's. I don't want to say it's like a crusade, right? But I'm trying to think of a military. Well, basically something where it's a good example of where a country just kept attacking the same thing over and over and over again, and they never got what they wanted. And I'm trying to think of a good historical example of it. And if I had enough time, I could.
Yeah, there's some out there. So, yeah.
I feel like I'm going to have to go to China for this one, but or at least
Japan attacked the Soviet Union several times and never got what they wanted out of it, so that didn't work out. But then again, their level of military genius is in question. So
now, why?
I don't know, man. So,
I feel like the history of Japanese warfare is overrated at best.
It's great until they get off the island. So once they leave their own island. Now, they did kick the fuck out of Korea and then China for
yes, they did.
About 30 years.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
So, but as soon as they fought, like, guys with tanks, so rather than sticks... They lost.
Yeah, correct. So it is sort of endemic to your culture in some ways when you have this reactionary movement every now and then where it's like, no, we've advanced too far and this is too Western and
oh right, yeah.
Yeah. It's something that sort of holds you back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of Japan worship out there, so
Well, look, there's a lot of I've like when I say that Klingons are Japanese Arabs,
they are
okay. That's the same thing, and it's the same limitations where it's like, God, this is beautiful. This is like every time that when we joke about that. What is it, that 400-year-old hotel or whatever?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Every now we talk about that goldfish that's like 200 years old too, and people think it can talk or whatever. I don't know. It has a soul.
This is a very Japanese thing. Yeah, it's very Japanese.
So there's parts of this, but then like you look at certain aspects of the culture, and you're like, guys, this is so anti-pragmatic.
Oh yeah.
If you were forced with some of the problems that other nations have, you would crumble instantly.
Right, or this like particular way you fold the paper doesn't matter anymore. So yeah. You know, you use both cues if there's an open set of stairs next to the other one, just in case there's nobody coming down the stairs, but we do use all of them instead. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of little things like that, man. So
It's just the weird thing is like, maybe he's just giving you his business card with one hand because the other hand doesn't work so well. It's just it's
so he's lame. Yeah. So, yeah.
You don't know.
You don't know.
Again, it's any and all things. So I guess I'll close with this because I did a show called Love in Translation. Right.
Okay.
Now, on any other set of circumstances, I would just write this off as just standard reality filth, where you take for all we talk about, the gender, so, and when it comes down to what people want to watch, what they want to watch is 3 guys and a whole bunch of women competing for these guys, right? Because
wait a minute, 3 gay guys?
No, 3 straight guys.
And a whole bunch of women.
And a whole bunch of women, right? That's the concept of Bachelor, all these shows.
Oh, right, yeah. It's the idea. It's male fantasy. So,
well, it's not the male fantasy, because guys don't watch this shit.
Oh, okay.
Guys don't watch this shit.
Oh, okay.
Women watch that
That's
shit.
right, so I'm the best. Yeah, got it.
Because it's super competitive.
Right.
Anything that makes women argue with each other is...
Yeah, it's fun.
But anyway.
That's why you have housewife stories.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. No guy watches this shit, but the
insufferable.
Brother,
I know you do it.
Transcribe it, and I'll tell you how insufferable it is.
Yeah.
So watch the behind the scenes of these animals. Okay, but anyway. So the hook on this show is you have 3 guys that speak English, exclusively English, right?
Okay.
And their harem of potential women. The American Sultan's harem of potential women is all international, right?
Yeah.
Who don't speak English, right? And the whole thing is to see if they can make connections with people that they can't speak the language of,
Okay.
right? Now the thing I would argue, you can't get more than 2 episodes worth of content out of this, because it's basically like, so they don't speak English, you do.
Right.
There's not that much drama that you can pull from this, because the only reaction that you're going to get is, I don't understand.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And they will either understand good or not understand bad. Right? That's it. Those are the only things they're going to have, right? But the one thing that they had there was, so they pull people from Colombia and Brazil and things like this, but they also pull like 2 people from France, Germany, 1 person from South Korea, 1 person from Japan, right? Now, the one thing that they were absolutely dead on with was, and I've heard this, like, I've worked with Brazilians and all this, because Brazilian women are not modest.
No, they're not. Yeah.
No. So when it comes to like dancing with the guys or making out with them, whatever, they don't care.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But the poor Asian girls on this show,
oh God, no. Oh, that's
they're not doing well.
No, of course not. And so
yeah,
that makes I watched enough Asian Boss over the years to know that like any Japanese girl, you have about a 50-50 chance that like the idea of dating a white guy is repulsive. So, let alone actually spending any time there. So yeah.
Well, it's not even the white thing. It's just they even say it too. They're like, this was a Japanese person.
Well, you're not
like,
Japanese. Let me put it that way.
Well, no, not even that. It wasn't even that. It was like, she's like, even if I were dating a Japanese person, right? There's no possible way I'd be this forward.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't
right?
do that. Yeah, no.
So that's where I was like, why did you invite these people? This is sad.
Right, yeah. So, and it's just like, well, why don't we just do a Brazilian edition?
Well, and that's kind of it. Is basically, so all of the Latin American girls are essentially like troublemakers because, right? It's just like, oh, I can't believe you did this. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Let me make you some food. So we'll make it all better. Yeah, and then the Europeans would be funny too. It's like, what kind of car do you drive? My God, oh my God.
What was funny to me was that the French girls actually walked off. They were.
Oh really?
Yeah, they declared it completely immature, and they left together. They're like, this is stupid.
You're boring me with paleness. There you go.
All right, that's cool.
All right, I'm Pat.
All right, I'm Jeffrey.
Good in the button.
Yeah.